Hi Latham country, it's Sunday afternoon about 3 o'clock. Today we're going to pollinate, and so to do that, before we left the field yesterday, I put up one tassel bag so that we could collect the pollen from that tassel. So I'll go grab that and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at trichomes grabbing pollen grains while we do the pollination process, which will start the fertilization process. Okay, so I brought the tassel bag and the tassel with us, and you can see it was just that top portion of the tassel that was shedding. But what we're interested in is the gold pollen that's showing up in there, not these anthers that you always bring in on your shirt when you come in from checking fields. So now we're going to take that and we're going to pour it on these silks for the full cut on Friday. Hopefully now we'll use plant number 1 and we'll get in close enough and you should be able to see the trichomes grab the pollen, okay? Okay, so we'll remove this shoot cap. We'll bring the pollen in. You see the anthers. There comes the pollen dust. You should be able to see the pollen grains have been grabbed by the silks. Right in here is a beautiful spot to see it. Okay, so the pollen grains will essentially germinate within the next 4 hours. And so what happens is a silk on a corn plant is essentially like a drinking straw, and the trichomes surround the pollen grain. The pollen grain sprouts and grows a tube inside this like it's a drinking straw and goes all the way down to the one kernel, what's going to be the one kernel of the egg, and fertilizes it. Now that takes about 12 to 28 hours for it to make that fertilization. So right now we have pollination over the next 4 hours, germination of that pollen grain into the silk. The pollen tube grows through the silk down to the ovule, and then fertilization happens. Now, plant number 3, the natural silking that we did not cut, we're not going to do anything with. We're going to keep it covered, and then we'll show you that in the absence of pollen, that silk will just keep growing and it'll come right out the bottom of this bag here in about 4 days or so. We'll come back. And plant number 2, where we cut, we realized yesterday that we only have the butt and maybe some of the middle silks out. There's probably a few more, but we're going to go ahead and pollinate it as well today. And then when we come back, we'll show you that in the absence of any more pollen, like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because we'll cover it, all of these tip silks will start to grow out the top, but these silks that we currently have will stop growing. In ear number 1 that we pollinated all of this on, there probably won't be any new silk emerge, maybe just a few wisps come from the top. But look at how this silk is already laying out after it's had its mission accomplished. So it's not upright and aggressive like these other silks are. And so you can tell when you walk through your field that things have already gone on. I'll give you another little indicator. When a field is in full activity and you guys are in drought stress and you wonder if your field's getting pollinated or not, you don't need to go through any of this mechanics. If you simply pulled back this leaf and look here in this leaf cup, you'll see the yellow pollen has collected there that missed the silk, that came down from around the field and landed in here. And every ear cup will have yellow in it, and you can see that there's pollen in the cups. And if you do that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll have a nice indicator that pollen was flying aggressively when you had the appropriate silking. So you can sleep at night and go in and say, well, pollen must be working because even the mist pollen is landing in the leaf sheath somewhere. Hi Lathams, it's Tuesday, late afternoon. This will be the final segment of our shoot. We are now, since Friday when we came out, we had 3 plants with some silk showing, which means that morning, Friday, that silk had emerged. So I wanted to just show you what's happened to our silks that we pollinated and then the silks that we didn't pollinate. So right now, today, we are quickly approaching 100 hours, or 4 days plus a few hours of when we started seeing silk. So the 100-hour silk mark. Now the first plant that we pollinated with the full cut, when we put the pollen on, we have a few silks that have grown a little longer, and we have a few silks right in the middle that never received pollen, and they're still growing, and they're almost pure white, and they'd be right from the exact tips. The second ear shoot that we did, we just gave that little haircut to. After we left you on the video, I got another bag of pollen and pollinated it as well, and it has essentially stopped. There's also brand new silk right in the middle that will never get pollinated, but that's pretty much what that plant will do now. So once those silks get a pollen tube growing in them, they pretty much stop their growth. They might grow for a few more hours or maybe the next day, but that's the end of it. Now we go to the one that we never cut and we never pollinated, and you can see on plant 3 the silk has now come out the bottom, and if we take this off, we have silk that's, you know, almost the length of your forearm. And in the absence of pollen, this will keep growing, and I've seen silk come as far down as, you know, the next node. The second ear shoot's got some silk on it, but I've seen the silk from the first in the unpollinated situation, like in a green snap field, for instance. It'll just keep on growing, and eventually pollen should find this. Now, if we leave this uncovered, the pollen that's in the field will all grab a hold, and that'll be a nice full ear set. So we'll uncover all of these. We'll let the farmer have his ears back, and that should be the end of what happens in a field of pollination and silk growth. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can sure reach out to me. Thank you.